Hi guys, how's it going? Ivano here, and as promised, I tested the buffs to Telekinetic Sage and Lightning Sorcerer on PTS. So to quickly recap, what were the buffs? Well, they increased the duration of the Stormwatch buff, which you get from the tactical, by a whopping 50%. Then they increased the damage of Halted Offense or Power of the Force. That is, of course, the single target replacement for Telekinetic Wave or Chain Lightning. That one got a 7% buff. And finally, they increased the damage of Lightning Flash by 5%. So in order to test it, I jumped on Rishi. I always parse on the Warzone training dummy there, because it's the closest that you can get to the damage that you would do in a Warzone. We are using star parse to measure the damage, and we are hitting the dummy until star parse shows us 7.5 million damage, then stop and check the DPS, write it down in our spreadsheet here. The build which I used was full single target build using Stormwatch Tactical, of course. I am running the 1.3 GCD setup with a little bit more than 3k alacrity here. And of course I'm running Power of the Force for the single target damage and testing the buffs. Looking at the data, how big of a buff was it? Well, as you can see here, the difference in damage is roughly somewhere between 3 and 4%. On live, I was parsing on average 28.6k. I did 5 parses for both the live and then 5 parses for the PTS version. My APM was pretty comparable at 52 point something. My critical rate was a little bit better on the live parses compared to the PTS parses. And as you would expect, the average damage over all 5 parses on PTS was slightly higher at 29.7k DPS. So a buff of roughly 3-4%. Seeing that I got a little bit unlucky with the PTS parses, my critical rate was a little bit lower compared to the live parses. I would assume that the real buff is somewhere in the 4 to 5% area actually. So what does that mean for Lightning as a spec? If we look at the DPS statistics, we can see that Lightning is even behind Advanced Prototype currently and is the second worst spec on average when parsing on the 10 million dummy, which is the standard dummy that most PvEers parse on. Currently, on average, it is about 7.81% worse than the average spec, so the average damage out of all of these specs, all of these parses here. So a buff of somewhere between 4 and 5% will definitely not make Lightning OP. I don't think Lightning will be the best spec single target next patch, but it certainly will be more competitive. And this buff will for sure bring it more in line with BioWare's DPS targets, because since Lightning is a ranged burst spec, it's not supposed to do as much damage as Hatred, for example, which is a melee dot spec and currently the best performing one at that. For PvP, I think that most people will still be running the Elemental Convection build and not use Stormwatch at all. That build gives you very good mobility and it gives you supreme AoE capabilities. It's also quite fun to play. But for sure, I think in the next patch we will see more people going back and trying out the single target Lightning or Telekinetics build as well. I will try it for sure. If you want to see me play it, then feel free to check out my stream. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed this little PTS testing. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.